Joy Behar says crazy things. We have the George Floyd Autonomous Zone making special rules for white people. The media are pushing Joe Biden's narrative. And we have an update on the U.S.-Mexico border. And I have a lot to say about that. Before we get into our lead story today, please take a moment to hit that like button. It does help push my video out there to viewers who have not seen my content or my channel. And also, if you enjoy the Bald Brad Show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button so you're notified whenever we go live, which is every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, we have a special episode of the Bald Brad Show coming out this Saturday with none other than Arthur Quan Lee. So if you have that bell notification button on, you'll be notified right when that goes live. So stay tuned for that. And for our lead story of the day, it comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a member, please go over and become a subscriber today. It is written by Paul Boyes, and he titles it, Joy Behar, Ohio Cop Should Have Shot the Air. Yes, I said that correctly. Shot the air. It starts off by saying The View co-host Joy Behar has joined the litany of leftists offering ridiculous, implausible, unrealistic hot takes in the wake of an Ohio police officer fatally shooting 16-year-old Miss Bryant to protect a black teenage girl from being stabbed to death. And I talked about that on yesterday's episode. I showed the video. I'm sure you've seen it on other people's sites as well. But it says here, according to Behar, the police officer who had only a split second to make a decision should have fired his gun into the air instead of shooting Bryant, the teenager that was wielding the gun, the knife that was going to stab her friend or whoever the heck that was, seemingly unaware of the fact that a stray bullet could potentially kill an innocent bystander, which is what I was going to lead to in a moment. Behar was responding to a video from CNN's Don Lemon, who defended the officer's use of deadly force. It's quoted by saying, "When I look at this video, I see police responding to a dangerous incident where someone is armed with a knife. Police have walked up on a situation and they need to figure out what's happening. Other lives are in danger. If we're going to discuss this case, we need to be honest and use our common sense. We cannot have a double standard. We have to acknowledge that police have jobs to do," said Lemon. "My feeling is this. I don't know if that's true or not. I really can't figure it out anymore," Behar said in response to Don Lemon. Behar said that there is something wrong if the only solution to someone potentially killing another human is to use deadly force. "I mean, it seems to me in a situation, this is what it looked to me. I looked at the tape and still can't figure it out," she continued. "Shoot the gun in the air as a warning. Tase a person. Shoot them in the leg. Shoot them in the Sorry, I can't believe it. I can't believe it says this next part. I'm sorry. I haven't read this before. As I've mentioned in a lot of my videos, I tried to save it so you guys kind of have not just a news story, not just an opinion, but also a reaction. And I couldn't even get it out. So let me just start over because I can't believe it. She actually said this. Shoot the gun in the air as a warning. Tase a person. Shoot them in the leg. Here we go. It says this. Oh, God. Shoot them. Shoot them in the behind. Oh, God. I'm gonna cry. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm sweating. Oh, God, I'm not going to make it through this. It's too good. Stop them somehow. But if the only solution is to kill a teenager, there's something wrong with this. There's something very, very wrong with the way these things are being conducted. Even if the cop had to do it, there's something wrong with it. I can't explain it any better than that. And this is Joy Behar, man. Oh my God. This is the stuff that this lady comes up with, and it's comedic, but it's also just batshit crazy. This lady is on a mainstream like television show, and she gets paid a ton of money to talk like this. And it's just nonsensical. It's just silly. And she can't wrap her head around it. She's talking about tasing somebody that's about to stab somebody in the neck, as if tasers work that well. You could tell that Joy Behar has no idea how guns work. She's never been in a sticky situation. She's never been in a weird situation. Now, that is me assuming it, and I could make an ass out of myself. Maybe she has been, but I think that there should be some police departments that should offer for her to come out and visit and go through some sort of tactical training and put her in this situation. Put her in a situation where she's never dealt with something before, and then she has to figure it out and watch her make the wrong decision. We've seen actually people do this on YouTube. There's been very popular YouTubers that have gone into police academy or done police training for a little bit, and then they realize, oh, it's not as easy as it sounds. And she's saying shoot the guy in the leg. Clearly, she's never shot a gun before. I've heard even my friends talk about this. Oh, shoot him in the kneecaps. When your adrenaline's going, when you have a life or death situation, your aim is not that great, folks. Oh, let me just pick him off like in the movies where I'm just going to shoot him in the toe, or I'm going to blow his trigger finger off, or I'm going to shoot him in the kneecaps. Like, it's that easy. This is how disconnected these people are, and you could tell that they have not challenged their own viewpoints. Go out and shoot a gun, Joy. Go out and experience something and realize that things aren't as easy as you claim them to be. But, you know, you have Joy Behar here influencing whoever the heck is watching this stuff. And, you know, if Don Lemon, somebody who doesn't have half a brain, could sit there and at least make sense of the shooting and say, hey, this is actually a good shoot. It needed to happen. He saved the chick's life. And Joy Behar can't wrap her head around. Joy Behar is clearly farther left than Don Lemon is, which is tough to do. She added, we keep talking about this over and over again, and kids still keep getting shot. As if it's like a huge epidemic that is going on where teenage men or women are being shot by police officers, which statistically it's not even in the realm. And I've gone over that in the past, but you getting shot by a police officer, you're more likely to get struck by lightning. Think about that. You're more likely probably to get struck by lightning in your house than get shot by a police officer. But Joy Behar doesn't like statistics. She only likes to go with her feelings. It's like the gun issue in this country. People keep getting shot and nothing ever gets done about it. It's a very frustrating conversation to have. I can't add much to it. Well, you can't add much to it, Joy, because you haven't thought about it much. You're just basing everything off your feelings. You're not basing anything off statistics. You're not basing anything off clearly personal experience. Not that you need that to have a rational, common sense opinion. But for you to say people keep getting shot, well, those people that probably keep getting shot are making the wrong decisions that led them to get shot. Now, is that always the case? No. Are those situations where there's somebody just in a neighborhood, somebody doing a drive-by, and they get shot and they're an innocent bystander or something like that? Absolutely. That does happen. But the vast majority of shootings, especially when you're dealing with the cops, you probably did something wrong. There's probably a reason for you getting shot. Again, is that always the case? No. Are there bad shoots? Yes. But for her to sit here and say, tase the guy, shoot him in the knees, shoot him behind, shoot your gun in the air as this person is trying to stab somebody in the neck as if that's going to stop them. They're already committing almost a homicide act in front of a police officer. Some dude kicked a lady in the head as this is all going on in front of a police officer. Do you really think that you firing your gun in the air, which you shouldn't do, by the way, but if you did, is going to stop this lady from stabbing this chick in the head or neck? But man, that's the left for you. And we say it all the time. They're just a bunch of dummies sometimes. Not all the time, but definitely in regards to this. But this is just some silliness. But you have Joy Behar here just saying crazy crap on TV, man. Oh, I needed that laugh, though. It's been a long day and a long week, folks. And I hope you laughed just as hard as I did, because I couldn't believe what I was just reading. Clearly, as you saw. But other crazy crap that is going on in our nation. We have another article here by Emily Zanotti. Again, she's growing on me. She's almost up there with Phil Shiver now. Emily, you are doing great work if you so happen to ever watch this. But she titles it, Protesters in Minneapolis, George Floyd Square, Autonomous Zone, list special rules for white visitors. That's not racist or anything. George Floyd Square, the area of Minneapolis where George Floyd died last May while in the custody of Minneapolis police, has become a cop-free autonomous zone. I'm sure the residents and the businesses just love that. They must just love that. Now also has special rules for white people who turn up to honor Floyd by visiting his makeshift memorial. Now that's actual racism. If it's not racism, it's for sure discrimination. So these same people that are saying that there's institutions out there that are systemically racist, you've created an autonomous zone that has its own system, and within that system, you're projecting some sort of racism and discrimination on a race, meaning the white race. But, you know, that's me. You're not supposed to make sense of this stuff, guys. You're just supposed to go along with the program, right? The left know what's right and what's wrong. The left get to decide what's racist and what isn't racist. You don't get to decide. They get to decide. It goes on to say, a sign near the entrance to the autonomous zone calls the area a sacred space for community, public grief, and protest. A safe space. There's some crazy crap that's going on in that autonomous zone. They almost beat the crap out of a reporter. You remember that? The reporter was standing outside the autonomous zone, and you had these two, what looked to be like Antifa members, and if they weren't Antifa members, they looked like one, going up saying, you're about to cause a problem, you're about to have a problem, basically threatening the guy if him and his cameraman didn't leave. But this is peaceful, guys. It's all about peace. It's just nuts, man. It's nuts the way some people are allowed to get away with this stuff. It goes on to say, the sign urges visitors to honor the space as a place to connect and grieve as caring humans, but notes that white people visiting the memorial should abide by a more restrictive set of rules. White people are asked to decenter and come to listen, learn, mourn, and witness. Remember, you are here to support, not to be supported, the sign says. Additionally, white people must contribute to the energy of the space rather than drain it. Doesn't that sound like some cultish religious thing? I don't know. And bringing their own processing to other white folk so as not to further endanger or harm BIPOC. They must also be mindful of whether their volume, pace, and movements are undermining their efforts to decentralize. Your movements and pace. This is nuts, man. There are some psychos out there. And clearly, if you're trying to create an autonomous zone, there is something wrong with you. And it's not okay. And I can't believe they're getting away with this. I cannot believe the city and the residents and the business owners are letting them get away with this. This is nuts. This has been going on far too long. Remember Chop and then Chaz, that whole situation? Do you remember Occupy Wall Street? They just take over swaths of land and just poop and pee and throw needles and do drugs and commit just like adultery everywhere. Do you remember all that stuff? That's the left's mentality for like the last 10 years. Over 10 years now. But, the leftist mayors, the leftist senators, the leftist Democrats, they love this stuff going on. Because if they didn't, they would fix it, right? That's where your proof is in the pudding. If they didn't like what was going on, they have the power to stop it, but they don't. They want to be inclusive, right? There's nothing wrong with these people. What they're doing is just. They have the right to do this. They have the right to absolutely take over an entire city block, shut it down, and create rules for white people. But there's nothing wrong with that to the left. The sign advises against taking photos, a restriction that has popped up at other anti-racism and anti-police brutality protests, particularly where anti-fascist protesters are involved, and suggests that white people police other white people who may be causing problems and engage rather than escalate, so that George Floyd Square can be a learning moment rather than a disruption. I wonder if it's a learning moment for drug abuse, or committing violent crimes, or resisting arrest, or doing something you shouldn't be, or how to handle a situation. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe teaching people that criminals aren't heroes. That might be a good start, but no, we're not going to talk about that. We can't talk about that, right? Because it's racist. It's racist to think that George Floyd was a criminal. Now, should he have died? No, he shouldn't have died. Nobody, as far as I know, thinks that the man should have died. Was the cop egregious for sitting on the dude's neck and back for 9 minutes? Yeah. Which is why the cop is going away for what I think should be manslaughter, but obviously he got second and third degree, which I don't agree with those two, but manslaughter seems pretty appropriate to me for what he did. But, they're just pushing some sort of narrative, and the sad thing is there's people that will actually follow this. There's going to be white people that are actually going to follow this. Your pacing and your movements matter. Meaning how fast you could walk, how fast you could talk, or how slow you walk, or meaning they can go after you for anything. Literally anything. As long as they don't agree with what you are doing, you're not welcome. So you have to cater to them, and talk about power hungry people, right? They talk about systems of racism, systems of power, but they are controlling an entire zone and controlling who can and come in and who can come out, and they're dictating it by your race, basically. That sounds like a hell of a lot of power to me. That sounds freaking nuts. The George Floyd Square Autonomous Zone is delineated with concrete barricades. It cropped up last year following Floyd's death, but came back to life just as a jury selection was beginning in the trial of Derek Chauvin, who on Tuesday was found guilty of killing Floyd. The intersection of East 38th Street and Chicago Avenue, where a bystander recorded the viral video that showed an ex-Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin, pressing his knee into Floyd's neck on May 25th, 2020, was first converted into a memorial and renamed George Floyd Square after his death. Fox News reported, but concrete barricades set up by the city last year to protect demonstrators from traffic now act as the barriers to an autonomous zone co-opted by armed individuals, declaring law enforcement are unwelcome, as gang activity, drug dealing, and gun violence disrupt local business operations. Isn't that just lovely? It gets worse, by the way, so just hold on to your tidy whities, right? This is a place for learning and peace and kumbaya. Drugs going on, violent crimes are happening, gangs are trying to take over. You got people running the show that are holding weapons that who knows if they're registered or unregistered or if they have a concealed carry. But again, we can't talk about stuff like that, guys, because you're racist if you do. If you use any sort of logic and reasoning within any of this, you're considered racist or going against the narrative, and you're an enemy of these people. It's just you try to wrap your head around it, and it's nuts that this stuff can even go on in the United States of America. It's nuts that this stuff is allowed to happen. But it happens in leftist cities. You look at Florida, where Ron DeSantis puts in an anti-riot bill. You think he's going to allow this crap to happen? You think he's going to allow an autonomous zone to pop up in Florida? I don't think so. I don't think so. Anywhere where there's a conservative running things, they ain't going to allow this to happen. It's the leftists that are going to allow this to happen, which is why you have people leaving leftist cities. Democrat-ran cities in droves. And where are they going? They're going to conservative-run areas. But they're voting for the same crap they voted there. It's like this analogy. People don't like to shit in their own bed. And when they do, they don't want to sleep in it anymore. So they go shit in somebody else's bed. And they don't like to sleep in that anymore. So then they go from place to place to place to place. Everything turns into Dutyville. And they can't wrap their head around why is everything turning bad. And it's them because they don't have any self-reflection on why they're causing the problems. It's like Joy Behar. Not a clue. Not a freaking clue. There's nothing up here in the head other than air, which is why she probably told the cop to shoot up there. As neighbors of 38th Street and Chicago Avenue, also known as George Floyd Square or the Autonomous Zone, we are witnessing a revolution by day and devolution by night, a neighborhood group told CNN. Prayer gatherings canceled, rallies canceled, visitors arriving with flowers in hand, only to retreat to their cars when greeted by the sound of gunshots. Neighbors ducking for cover behind our houses, children in tow. Check this out. Minneapolis recently approved $1 billion for bailout for businesses affected by violence in the autonomous zone. $1 billion that taxpayers have to pay for. The leftist city allowing this to happen. It's not $1 million. It's not $100 million. It's $1 billion because of this problem. You're seeing this theme where Democrats are creating these issues or allowing these issues to happen, and it's only costing the taxpayer more money. A prime example, the U.S.-Mexico border. That's going on, and they can't wrap their head around it, and it's costing us millions, if not billions of dollars, for sure billions of dollars. But they, again, can't wrap their head around it, and all it's doing is costing us money, where that money can be spent other places like infrastructure, like taking care of our homeless, taking care of our vets. How about that? Or how about investing more into our military because there's Russia out there, China, Iran that wants to wipe us off the face of the earth. But the Biden administration wants to work with Iran. The Biden administration doesn't have any problem states, taxpayers paying $1 billion to bail out these businesses that are affected by this situation, this autonomous zone, because the left don't care. They don't think about things like this. They're for the criminals. They're for people that aren't a U.S. citizen. And it's funny because you can't wake these people up. They're fine with this stuff. And my thing is that we should start pulling money out of their pockets then. If the people at the autonomous zone are fine with this, then why don't they pay for it? If the autonomous zone people want this, they should be paying for this stuff. They should be paying the taxes on the area. They should be bailing out these businesses because they want this zone so bad. Have it all you want, but as long as you're paying for it. That's all I have to say. But there you have it. Protesters in Minneapolis, George Floyd Square Autonomous Zone list special rules for white visitors, but everybody else is the racist, not them. There is zero self-reflection for these people, not a clue on what the heck is going on, not just from their own actions, but the actions of others as well, meaning the leftists and the Democrats. And in other news, speaking of crazy crap going on and speaking of the U.S.-Mexico border, Politico orders staff not to call the border surge a crisis, despite Biden himself using the word. This comes from the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Shiver, my #1 man, and this also comes from Blaze Media. Phil starts off by saying Politico has become the latest news agency to order its staff not to use the word crisis when describing the ongoing surge of illegal immigrants flooding into the country in anticipation of lenient treatment under the Biden administration. Now, if you remember, Joe Biden, well, let's backtrack. Even before that, the Biden administration was just saying, well, this is just a challenge. It's not a crisis. There's no issues. Then they send in FEMA, which again, the E in FEMA is for emergency. Usually you send in FEMA when there's a crisis happening or an emergency, but it's still just a challenge. Then finally, the other day I reported on it, Joe Biden was caught in front of reporters saying the crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border, or the immigration crisis. So he finally said it, and I said, oh, hoorah, great, finally. They realized that this stuff's a crisis. Then they backtracked through Jen Psaki saying it's not a crisis. And now you have the media that are catering to Joe Biden's narrative, Jen Psaki's narrative, Kamala Harris's narrative, the Democrats' left narrative, that this isn't a crisis when in fact it is a crisis. So what does the leftist media do? They're controlling the culture. They're controlling the narrative that Americans are seeing. And for some reason, Americans can't see the duality, not necessarily the duality, but the hypocrisy, I should say, in all of this. And I wish that some Democrats would wake up and call this out. You have conservatives that are constantly reporting, especially me, on the hypocrisy of the media and how the media is just a shoo-in for Joe Biden. But remember, they're unbiased, guys. They are unbiased. They have no bias whatsoever. Remember Don Lemon and Ben Shapiro talking about that? Ben Shapiro told Don Lemon that he has a bias, and he just goes, I'm not biased. Which is just mind-boggling, because you listen to the way Don Lemon talks, you listen to the way Joy Behar talks, it's about the same damn thing. Pretty much the same thing. But, you know, you have the leftist media here, again, catering to Joe Biden. It goes on to say, in an internal memo obtained Thursday by the Washington Examiner, staff at the Beltway publication were instructed to avoid using the term since the present situation doesn't fit the dictionary definition of a crisis. It is, however, a problem and dire situation, staff were told. Hasn't stopped them before from using words that aren't necessarily the exact phraseology that's depicted in the dictionary. Hasn't stopped you before, but when it doesn't fit the narrative, you're more than happy to look up those definitions, huh? You're more than happy to fill in any gaps in the narrative that Joe Biden isn't filling in himself. The Associated Press broke ground last month when it instructed reporters to avoid the terminology in an effort to use accurate and neutral language when describing the situation. However, the AP had no problem using the word to refer to the immigration surge in 2019 when Donald Trump was president. That's exactly what I was talking about. Thank you, Lord, that Phil Shiver's the man, and he points out exactly what I was saying. And you know what's interesting, too, is this comes out, what, a few days after Joe Biden sent out a memo to the Border Patrol or whoever's doing the documentation for the immigration, saying that we're going to ban the term illegal alien and the term assimilation to make the United States seem more inclusive. And now, just a few days later, you have these news outlets that aren't going to use the word crisis. Do you see the narrative that's happening here? Do you see the cohesion or the working together of the media and the Biden administration to dismantle some sort of narrative that they don't want portrayed? Do you see how they're manipulating what is going on at the U.S.-Mexico border? This stuff's nuts, and it's crazy. It is crazy that there's people that are just going to go along with it. But remember, and I know I emphasize this a lot, but we're the conspiracy theorists, right? We're the one that's changing things, and we're making things seem like not what they are. That's us, right? It's not the media. It's not the Biden administration that's doing that. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's just whatever they call us, that is them. That's really all it is. If they call us the racist, they're acting in racist ways. If we say something's a conspiracy theory, or if they're calling us conspiracy theorists, they're the conspiracy theorists. It's just the complete opposite. And they know what they're doing, some of them. They know exactly what they're doing. Politico's mandate comes with its own stink of hypocrisy, as President Joe Biden himself let the truth slip last Saturday, referring to the border surge as a crisis when talking to reporters after a round of golf. Has anybody seen the video, by the way, of him golfing? I talked about this last time. I would love to see him hit a driver. It's still just as funny as when I thought about it last time. It's just him playing golf. I just can't imagine him, a guy that stumbles up going up the stairs, playing a round of golf. Maybe it's mini golf. I don't see this guy hitting an iron. I don't see this guy hitting a driver. I just feel like his back is going to give out or his legs are just going to go. If there's any video of this golfing happening, just please, my email's down below. Send it to me. Would love to see it. Nonetheless, such characterization is deemed unacceptable for Politico reporters. A quote here saying, avoid referring to the present situation as a crisis. Although we may quote others using the language while providing context, while the sharp increase in the arrival of unaccompanied minors is a problem for border officials, a political challenge for the Biden administration, and a dire situation for many migrants who make the journey, it does not fit the dictionary definition of crisis, Deputy Production Director Maya, and some long name I can't pronounce, I'm not going to attempt it, reportedly wrote in the memo. If using the word crisis, we need to ask of what and to whom, she said. Webster's dictionary defines a crisis as an unstable or crucial time or state of affairs in which a decisive change is impending. Cambridge English Dictionary describes a crisis as a time of great disagreement, confusion, or suffering. The Biden administration has insisted for months that the surge of immigrants at the border, which has resulted in thousands of migrant children being held in grim, cage-like facilities and tens of thousands of adult illegal immigrants being released directly into the country, does not constitute a crisis. Yet at the same time, officials have been scrambling behind the scenes to hide it from the public and have been taking drastic action to make the problem go away. After Biden regrettably used that word, which shall never be used, the White House quickly went into damage control and clarified to CNN that the label is not reflective of the administration's official position. So Biden's position, calling it a crisis, is not Biden's position. It's just the hypocrisy and contradiction almost in the same day. Biden says it's a crisis. Jen Psaki says it's not a crisis, and this is not a reflection of what the administration thinks, but it's the Biden administration. So Biden doesn't think it's a crisis, even though he said it was a crisis. This is what I love about politics, man. You can't make this stuff up. It's so crazy that all you could do is laugh, and I absolutely love it. I love politics because it's silly. Now, was yesterday a dark show? Yes, because it was a situation that could potentially destroy this country because of the ideologies. Now, that stuff is serious, but what is happening here with what these people say, what these people do, I'm sorry, I find it hilarious. It's too good. In other news, we have an update on the U.S.-Mexico border as well with Kamala Harris, the border czar, the one that's supposed to be in control of this thing and fix this thing. This comes from Fox News and is written by Adam Shaw. He titles it, Kamala Harris emphasizes root cause of border surge, says problem is complex. Oh my God. I can't wait to read this. Vice President Kamala Harris is emphasizing that she describes as the root causes of the migrant surge at the border, calling the issue complex as she continues to face criticism for her handling of the crisis. She thinks it's complex. Look, if you open the floodgates, water's going to come in. If you close it, water won't come in anymore. It's not hard. You build a wall, it will stop people from flooding in. You follow your policies, your laws and regulations that were put in place and still are in place. You're not going to have this issue. It's that easy. If you lock your front door, is it going to be hard for people to come in through that front door? Yeah, you're damn right. If your door's wide open, is it easy for people to walk into your house? Yeah. This isn't complex, but it shows you the mentality. It shows you how the mentality of the Biden administration just is not there. They're not able to solve simple problems. They're making 2 plus 2 hard. All of you know what 2 plus 2 is. It's 4, but not to the leftists, not to the Democrats. They don't know how to solve it. They think it's too complex. Let's see why they think it's too complex. Let's see how they twist this thing to fit their narrative and how they're going to make it too complex. Harris, in a roundtable on the Northern Triangle, said that underlying issues was addressing the acute and root causes of migration away from that region, the reason people flee. The Northern Triangle refers to the Central American countries of Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. President Biden made Harris the point person for the crisis last month, but she has emphasized that her focus is a diplomatic issue related to the region rather than the crisis at the border itself. Basically saying, well, even though I was put in place to fix it, not going to do it. It's more of a diplomatic thing. Guys, don't come. Don't come to our border. We might throw out amnesty. Don't come, please. It's like that person that goes, well, I'm just going to leave. And you go, oh, no, don't go. Oh, wait, come back. That's kind of how the Biden administration is treating this whole thing. Like, oh, don't come. No, we don't want you here. We don't want you here. Right? That's exactly what they're doing. They know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. We're not dumb. They're dumb. We are looking at extensive storm damage because of extreme climate. God, dude. It's just like... This is why people are fleeing? Right? I don't want to laugh that hard into the mic. We are looking at extensive storm damage. Oh, because of extreme climate. I'm sorry. Oh, God. We're looking at drought in an area in a region where agriculture is one of the most traditionally important bases for their economy. We're looking at what's happening in terms of food scarcity as a result of that, and in fact, incredible food insecurity, which we used to call hunger food insecurity, she said. And we are looking at, therefore, a number of issues that also relate to poverty, extreme poverty, and also there's violence obviously coming out of those regions, she said. When you look at the root causes, we also are looking at issues of corruption. Again, we're looking at the issue of climate resiliency and then the concern about a lack of economic opportunity. But why are you bothering looking at these things when they're not fixable from our end? You're kind of looking at everybody else's problem and then expecting the United States to fix it. That's not our problem. Your job is to protect those in this country and worry about those in this country, the taxpayers that are paying for this. And all you're doing is you're looking at, well, there's climate problems over there and they have a little bit of storms and, you know, are there terrible things happening? Yes, with corruption, again, people going hungry. I am fully understanding of that. But your job as the vice president is to protect our borders. Your job is not to take care of other people in other countries. Your job is to take care of us in our country because you represent our country, because you're an elected official of our country. Well, mostly Joe Biden is, but Harris was on the ticket with him, so insto facto. But you get what I'm saying in regards to this, and this is how the Biden and Harris administration, this is how the Democrats and left are going to run this country. It's not about you and I. You're not number one in Democrats' minds. You were number one in Trump's minds. You're number one in Ron DeSantis' minds, Ted Cruz, Nikki Haley. You're number one in conservative minds. But you are not number one. You're not even number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in Democrats' minds. You are last. Everybody else in the globe is number one in Democrats' minds and the leftist mind. The proof's right here. The proof is right here. She's more worried about what their problems are than our own problems here. And that's why they want to send money to these people. You remember me reporting on that, right? They think that by them paying people is going to stop them from coming here because of their economic hardships. And when I said, well, you just gave them money to come here, they're going to give that to the drug smugglers. They're going to give that to the smugglers. They're going to give that to the cartel. They're going to give that to the violent gang members. They're going to give that to the coyotes. So basically, we're just paying criminals to smuggle people over in this country. But remember, this stuff's too complex, guys. You can't use your brain on this stuff. It's too complex. The U.S. is seeing a dramatic surge in migration at the border, with 172,000 migrants encountered in March alone, and thousands more estimated to have evaded Border Patrol. The spike is unaccompanied children, or the spike in unaccompanied children and migrant families in particular has overwhelmed the facilities and led the Biden administration to rapidly open facilities to house them, meaning cha-ching, 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 more money, right? Not just $1 billion going for the autonomous zone, billions of dollars going to the U.S.-Mexico border, rather than taking those billions that we could be saving and building the wall, which save us money in the long run, which we could take that saved money and maybe help our vets, rebuild our roads, our bridges, our railways, build our infrastructure rather than demanding another $2.3 trillion of infrastructure. We have to pay other people, pay $86 million to house these immigrants. You know, it's just constant money coming out the mouth like diarrhea. Just constant. The Biden administration has placed significant emphasis on the root causes of the crisis, while also saying migrant surges are seasonal and dismissing claims from critics that a liberalization of migration and border policy by the administration is responsible. They are responsible. Joe Biden's been clear about all of this. We know it wasn't that long ago. The Biden administration and the media just act like we're complete idiots. As if we can't remember what happened yesterday. As if we can't remember what we just ate yesterday. There's video of this stuff. It's easy to look up on YouTube. They're acting as if we're still living in like archaic times where there's no like evidence of this stuff happening or evidence of what Joe Biden has said or what Joe Biden plans to do. There's a reason why they call him the migrant president. Are the migrants on tape saying yes because of Joe Biden's rhetoric, which is why we came. It's not hard. This isn't complex, but they're making it complex because that's how the leftist mind works. You can't make sense of it. Things are so batshit crazy that, again, that's why you see me, Brad, stuttering all the time, because not only am I trying to make sense of it while talking to you live, trying to figure it out through my thoughts, but the same thing happens off camera. I'll be done with this show, and then I'm going to go research some more. I'm going to read some studies some more and try to just think how the left can make sense of this. It's not that I'm just sitting back trying to hound the left. I genuinely want to understand the left. I go really far out of my way to try and understand Joe Biden. And by the way, let's give credit where credit is due. Supposedly, Joe Biden's going to acknowledge the Armenian genocide. And I said, I'm not going to go out of my way to always look for bad things that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are doing. I want to find good things. I said that the other day if you're a consistent viewer of the show. And if you are, I really greatly appreciate it. But I said, when Joe Biden does something good, I want to call it out because I think that we should support our president in things that he does good and call him out when he does things bad. Same thing for Trump, same thing for any president. I think that's something you should look for in a host that isn't always going to tell you things you want to hear. Joe Biden's doing something good by stating that the Armenian genocide did happen. Obviously it happened. There's people out there that think it didn't happen. There's people today that think the Holocaust didn't happen when it did. So that is a good thing for Biden to do to show that the Armenian genocide did happen. Good for him. That is something we need from our president. But there's a lot of bad that Joe Biden is doing. There's a lot of incorrect actions that Joe Biden is doing. And I frankly just don't have enough time to report on everything that the left is doing to either destroy this country or move it in the opposite direction than it should be going. There's literally not enough time to do an hour episode. If you guys would watch 2 or 3 hours, heck, I'll sit here for 2 or 3 hours and I'll pull up like 20, 30 articles here that I tend to read every single day and just report on all of it. But I think that's information overload. I think holding to some core issues such as what is going on with the police, what is going on with systemic racism, what is going on with the U.S.-Mexico border, what is going on with our taxes and our debt. Those are main issues that I think are important for our country because it affects all of you. The U.S.-Mexico border affects you on a tax basis. The increase in taxes affects you on a tax basis. Our country driving ourselves into debt affects you on a tax basis. Anything that affects you as my viewer as well as me, something that we share in common, not just with conservatives and Republicans, but with Democrats and lefts as well, I want to cover those issues because all of us are in the same boat here. All of us are going to be affected by it. And that's what I think is the most important here. So with that being said, folks, that is all the news I have for you today. Thank you so much for your sincere viewership to me and the show, as well as leaving me a comment. I love talking to all of you. I have a blast. Some of you write some really hilarious things. Some of you write some inappropriate things that I'm just not going to kind of comment on in a way. I'll say, hey, thanks for the comment, but I ain't gonna go any further with it. But just know that I do crack up reading your comments. I literally read every single comment and I do my best. And I think I have replied to anybody who has commented on my show. I think I've replied to every single comment that's ever happened on my show. I'm gonna keep doing that as long as I possibly can. But again, I really appreciate all of you. I hope all of you are doing well. We do have a special episode of the Bald Brad Show coming out tomorrow with artist Arthur Quan Lee, so be on the lookout for that. It's about an hour and a half episode. I'm very excited. It is a long format show. There are no cuts in it other than camera cuts. Everything is there out in the open. It is a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Make sure that you go over to Arthur Quan Lee's website, his Instagram, which I will link into tomorrow's episode. Make sure you support him, show him some love as well, and have a lovely weekend, everyone. And I'll see you Monday here on the Bald Brad Show.